Hello and welcome to Animation Express YouTube channel. I am Poonam and today we are back with a brand new video. And for the same, let me introduce to our guests who are the heads of Penta Esports, part of Nugent Gaming. First up is Anurag Khurana, Nugent Gaming founder and CEO. Mr. Kiran Nujiwala, Nugent Gaming co-founder and head of esports. Akshay Paul, co-founder and CMO. Krishanu Ghoshal, head of content, Nugent Gaming. I welcome to all.
Hello, thank you for having us.
Hello.
Hello.
That reminds me of Kiran speaking, Poonam. So good job.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, I have divided the section. There are certain questions which will be common for everyone. Kiran sir, Anurag sir, Akshay sir, and Krishanu. And some are, are specific. So, I'll start with the specific one. We'll start with Anurag sir. If you could share the factors which are driving the growth of esports sector, going forward.
So, I think esports in last 5 years that I've been watching esports coming up, it has taken some strides in the industry, but I think we have not even touched the tip of the iceberg. That's my perspective, because generally what happened in the West, it started more at amateur level where professionals were found. But in India, it happened other way around. It started as a professional esports and amateur is still being done. So I think that's why I said it's not even at the tip of the iceberg. So, but I have a lot of hopes for esports in India. I see the potential and athletes coming out which will represent and get accolades for the country.
Okay. To Kiran sir, I'm a huge fan. If not huge, sometimes I miss the shows. So I'm a huge fan of you speaking on camera. So yes, I have watched Koffee with Kiran and Esports in 5. And I would like to know how are the responses, from the audience?
Hey, so thank you so much. Firstly, Poonam, very happy and glad that, there are a lot of audiences out there. And that was the primary idea behind the 2 shows and the other shows that we're doing was isn't just targeted at core esports audiences. It is done to address the mass audience, which encompasses hyper casual gamers, to keep them informed on what is happening in the world of esports with a primary focus on what's happening in India. And, that fuels the interest for them to eventually maybe even take up esports in one form or the other. And so that's where the journey begins. So the response has been very good. I would say, in fact, when it did start initially, more than my character, there's another character called Frost that's on the show, which has been the superstar that is always hidden away from the camera that has worked. And over time, of course, we've seen audiences come back. I think the fact that it is not just news presented, but it's a very jovial take on how we do it is what that sets it apart. And this is pretty much the case with our other shows as well. If you, like you said, the other one being Koffee with Kiran, where it is, though we're talking to serious people, but it is not a very serious talk, right? It's a one-on-one, a very candid chat that we have. And that gives a very different perspective of these, I would say, the industry leaders out there and their thought process and how their ideologies are. And yeah, with 1v1 as well, of course, you get to see all the popular athletes out there. Nixon's doing a fantastic job with that, and all props to, in fact, Krishanu and the team for putting up amazing content out there. I'm just the face, but there's a wonderful team in the back end that is making the magic happen.
So Poonam, I'd like to add one small thing, especially with Koffee with Kiran. The whole idea with that was that we wanted to bring the people who are behind the scenes to the front. So even the first pilot was done with me and it was horrible for me. I said, yeah, this will now work with other people. So that's the reason behind Koffee with Kiran.
But I didn't think so. It was bad.
No, because I had to, you have not seen the pilot. In pilot, Kiran made me drink coffee with a lot of salt in it. So I know what I went through in that case. Yeah.
That video is not out. It's confidential.
Okay. So I'll go to Akshay sir. Like Penta Esports is growing pretty fast. Like it's just accelerating on and on. So what has been the secret juice like behind it? Like, what was the success juice behind it?
The success juice, trade secrets, huh? I think the success juice is sitting in the call in front of you. I think the people here, it's not just the passion, it's the dedication, it's the zeal. And very simply, there is no work too big, too small for us. Right from Anurag, involved in a lot of very small things, junior resources and their, expertise and inputs for big decisions. I think that is one of the primary reasons, Penta is where it is right now, because I would say not even most, I say all of our work is a very, very, very collaborative effort, not just by the four of us. I think the other thing is obviously one thing that, I have no qualms in saying I'm very proud of is that our content and our production value, right? That is something that I think we definitely do a very good job at. And I think people have started realizing that. People have been seeing the merit. It's the love that we're getting from the community. I think that is working really in our favor, where people talk about us and how they say that. I mean, you hear words like OPA, but when you hear production OP or when you say casting OP and all of that, that kind of brings out that the small words that have really large impacts on the team's morale, right? So I think that is something that's also really doing well for us. And I think, more from what is working to what will work in the future also, I think we are on the right path in terms of vision. What we want to do is, very honestly, there's very little friction between the team as to what they want to do. Obviously, I think there can be no team without friction. There has to be someone who plays the villain. There has to be someone who comes in and rescues the day. But there is very little friction, which means the vision is aligned between the four of us. And I think that is, I don't know if it's right or wrong, that is separate, but it definitely gives you an impetus in the right direction. And I think that has really helped us as well to make decisions faster, to churn out results quicker. And yeah, I'm really glad that, however, by hook and by crook, how we met, I'm glad that the four of us met and we're here.
So I'm sure like you will definitely achieve what you plan for. So moving on, I have a question for Krishano as well. Krishano, if you could guide us to the content side, like you are the content guy and you know the drill. So if you could share how you incorporated such talk show to an esports organization and how the growth will be from here on, if you could just guide us to that.
So firstly, when I spoke to Sir while joining, the primary idea what Sir already had was we'll be content first. Of course, everything else is there, but since we were doing so many things anyway, why not churn content out of those? And if we are doing that as well, so why not create some original IPs as well? In terms of what you're saying, how did you come up with this show or that show? It's honestly a collaborative effort. It went through so many iterations, I can't even tell you. Ye hoga, wo hoga, nahi hoga, hoga, who will be the host, how we are gonna do it, how we won't do it, seeing other shows, what can we do different? Agar ye kare, to it'll be the same as other shows, so we can't do that. Then finally, after so many iterations, we come to a point, okay, let's do this. Then the entire process of who are we having on the show, what are we gonna ask them, how can we, like, for example, with Coffee with Kiran, you must have seen all these guys, all of them that are there, the people behind the camera, as Sir was saying, but you must have seen them in panels or giving serious interviews. And that's exactly what we didn't want, because that is available in spades throughout the internet. And what we wanted is, okay, you have seen somebody saying ki, oh, itna profit hua, itna loss hua, the industry is this, that, but you have never seen him saying ki, oh, mera favorite khana ye hai ki maine sabse weirdest thing ye khaya hai. So it sounds small, but the entire point was to show a different side to them. I think we achieved that. And in terms of other content, we are constantly, and I do mean it when I say it, every day we are trying something new. Of course, we are chucking out ideas, filling the bin with papers. Of course, we are working digitally, just a metaphor, but we always check for new ideas if this is going to work or not. We are constantly ideating what can we do better in existing properties and what else can we bring, what would be the frequency of that, how are we going to manage that. So content wise, we kind of keep ideating all the time, but not everything sees the light of the day for good reasons. Maybe they would sometime in the future, but right now, yeah, there's a lot more to come, and things are gonna get better with our shows as well, as we launch new seasons as well very soon.
Wish you good luck for that as well. So now I'm opening the floor for everyone. The esports market size in India has quickly scaled up to 3 billion, in 2021, and is expected to reach around rupees 11 billion by 2025. Esports has come long way, definitely. Pre-pandemic, if we see the records, it's completely different from where it is currently in. If you could share, the growth curve of the sector, including the marketing, content, and the tournament side, that will really give us the clear picture of the scenario. Like Anurag sir, Kiran sir, Akshay sir, Trishanu, everyone.
Number one, I don't know where you guys got those numbers, but I am not big fan of any reports. Yeah, reports are indicators, not reality, because pre-pandemic, if somebody had given those numbers, they were not even achievable. But yeah, so reports are one way to go, but I very clearly, I don't go by numbers, but going by the trends. If you look at the trend wise, earlier they were pre-pandemic, they were like 4 or 5 esports companies, tournament operators. Today, there are more than 30 tournament operators. So that shows the potential of the market. Number two, I think on the content piece side, even non-people who were not creating gaming related content or esports related content, they are showing a big interest in getting into this space. So my indicator is very clear that if big guns are looking at this, it very clearly shows that they understand the potential, and I welcome more and more people to join this industry called esports, which includes content for me, events, production, everything put together, even talent management, because the more people who will be participating, it will just expand the reach and the industry per se. So somebody asked me when I was head of Geo that right now Geo has got into the country, you will rule the market. But I was very clear, yeah, I would like 10 Geos to be part of it, because India is so huge, big a market that to reach to every nook and corner, which is my vision, it will take 10 geos. So I'm very clear, the more people get into it, the better it will be for the industry. Number wise, yes, these are indicative numbers, but what will actual numbers which will come at the end of the day, we don't know. But the way industry is growing, like even linear TV is getting involved in esports. I have a mixed feelings about that, Poonam. I'll be very clear, because esports is a medium which is absorbed digitally. I'll be happy if it's absorbed on linear channel also, but today's young generation has cut the cable. That's my personal opinion, but that's a very good indication that even traditional companies and traditional media is getting involved in esports. So that's my personal take.
Next up is with the growth of this sector, we see a lot of brands are coming in, including the non-endemic brands, have started associating with the teams and the companies. How has it been for Penta Esports? If Akshay sir could take this forward, and anybody, I want Akshay sir to be answering this question.
Endemic, non-endemic is a product, right? The biggest targetable market in India today is the youth, right? It's massive. We all know that. Penta as a brand itself services that youth to a very, very deep level. By deep, I mean not just at a tier 1 market level, but also at tier 3 levels. Not just at a console, the other way around, not just at a mobile level, which predominantly everybody does today, also at a PC level, right? We can even do that. Then is the type of content. The fundamental difference between a traditional media is it's restricted by the offerings that the media has. For that simple matter, I'm saying is you can have a format in a video. You can play a video on a XYZ, but the customization of the video can only be done in that time frame of the video. So basically, whatever you want to show in that video, you can do. With a digital playground, that is, let's say a tournament or something that you're making a virtual stage, you can make a virtual stage at 1/20th the cost of what you would to do it outside, right? So if you had to set up a stage as grand as, let's say, Geo Garden Bombay, or you had to set up maybe Pragati Maidan in Delhi, right? If you had to set up the entire thing, and you have to build, you have to construct on it to make something physical, where you had planes fly in or cars jump and everything. Just imagine the cost involved to that. Now you take that product and digitally replicate it. It can be done at 1/10th the cost. So what esports brings in that sense, and what it brings into non-endemic brands, obviously, is the level of customization, right? You can have cards swiping across the screen, you can have wrappers being torn, whatever, FMCG products and everything. Deep level of customization, a deep level of connect at that moment. You can celebrate at that moment of victory, of that loss, of that, euphoria of getting something or achieving something. That gratification can be celebrated right then and there, which cannot be done. I mean, no matter what anyone said, it just cannot be done outside, because you cannot have those moments, because that interaction is not two-way. So I think that in itself is something that a lot of brands have started seeing. And most brands are getting aware of it. I mean, I won't name somebody that I met yesterday who is very, very big establishment. Zeal to understand and learn about esports at his age. And, to understand how, because he's the brand owner, he wanted to understand and he wanted to know about it, and he was blown away by the possibilities of the digital ecosystem that can be 100% customized for his brand. I think those kind of things are the reasons we're leading conversations with the brands in our sector right now.
I'll ask a question to Kiran sir. Do you think India is ready for a fun, engaging esports content? Like, as per Statista report, there's 17 million Indians have consumed esports in 2021, and it's still growing. And do you think industry is ready, or are there enough esports content to feed such huge number of consumers with esports content?
Absolutely. I think all the way through pandemic, what has happened is the fact that a lot of consumers have been looking to consume content. They're sitting at their homes. And what happened over time was, even if we go just pre-pandemic, it was content primarily consumed over the weekends and content in the evenings to late nights only. Right, but that completely changed when people wanted to consume content all through the day. And like Anurag said, a lot of tournament operators have also come up. And what has happened over time is, if you look at the tournament calendar today, you have one happening in the morning, you have another tournament in the afternoon, you have another one in the evening, and towards the weekends you have your official publisher run tournaments also happening. So I think in terms of content, there is a lot of content available from a esports tournament in matches perspective, and which is why I think we've seen a few players even take the route of reality TV sort of content, which is also coming up today. Over the last month or so, we've seen two of those events happen, which have started right now. So I think it's, at the end of the day, objective there is to keep the audiences entertained. And in terms of esports tournaments, I believe there is a lot of content for someone to consume basis. And Akshay was mentioning, it's the experiences that we need to step up of these content that is being put out to give an overall better viewing experience for the audiences at the end of the day. And what Krishanu and team are doing with the shows is precisely developing content around content. It is presenting this content in various other formats. Just to name a couple of them out there, one, there are a lot of tournaments that are happening which have the live broadcasts, but chances are a lot of the casual and hyper casual audiences don't really want to watch the entire 4 to 6 hour broadcast, but they are still interested in esports, right? Which is why they're consuming short form content. So we have Penta Esports that we do that kind of encapsulates everything in 2 to 3 minutes, and you're good to go. You didn't have to watch the entire 3-4 hour broadcast. There are a lot of audiences who play different titles, different genres of esports. That's the beauty of it. It is not 1 or 2 games. It's a bunch of games spread across a lot of genres. The beauty of these games are there's patches coming out every day. The games constantly evolve. And for someone who is playing it casually, chances are they're not probably playing it on a day-to-day basis, maybe even weekly once of sorts. And there's a new patch out, the entire game changes. And at the end of the day, you want to be updated with what's happening. So you can quickly pick up the game and play for the short amount of time that you have. And that's another piece of content that we cover through Shots itself. The idea there is, yes, there is enough content, but there is a lot of potential to address audiences looking for different versions of the content available today.
Krishanu, do you want to add anything?
I think Kiran has pretty much covered it. As you were saying, see, with digital and internet being the primary medium for all esports content, there'll be a lot. Anybody can create content and put it up, unless yours is little different and you have something different to offer. It's hard to actually make a mark in somebody's mind. And of course, availability and the feasibility of content. So that since Kiran mentioned shorts, when a patch note comes out, for example, nobody wants to read the entire patch note. How about to and read, especially how about I give you entire description to you in 2 minutes? So that was the idea. Patch notes is just an example for any news, any releases. That was the idea. So feasibility, how you are actually giving them the content when they want it. Is your content different in any way from others so that it becomes catchy? That's pretty much it. And rest of it, Kiran has pretty much covered.
My next question is again industry related. Like, how can esports gain a strong foothold in the mainstream media and the entertainment sector? Well, like, are there any hurdles like which we need to, like, as an industry people, we need to cross? Like, it's just a community, the entire community to work towards the mainstream. So, if you could share like your insights, your opinions.
I only foresee one challenge when it comes to gaming, not just esports: acceptability by the non-target audience, parents, faculty, etc. I think that is the only thing what the hurdle I see as far as the our target audience, which means the youth. They are already playing the games. They are already watching esports. So I don't see any foreseeable issue on that side. The major issue is acceptability of non-consuming audience, and I would like them to become a consumers also of the content. So that's the reason why the if you look at the subtle messaging of our content is that gaming is not bad if done in moderation. So that is the overall back tone of our content. That's the way we are projecting it. So I think that is the only one roadblock that I see. I think with time we will overcome it. Giving you one small example from my house, my wife, totally a non-gamer, etc. But during pandemic, she has also started playing Ludo, and she was earlier like, both you father and son are wasting your time playing games. Even today on a call, she was telling me, oh, I have both the gamers sitting in front of me, because I was, while talking to her on a call, I was playing game on my iPad, and there my son was playing his Roblox on his PC. So, but right now there is some acceptability. She's again against we both playing games for 8 hours, 10 hours, which I know at least my son should not. I have an excuse, I'm doing work, so I have that excuse, but my son is not. So that acceptability is coming into the picture, but it's not. I am very clear. That's what I've told my team. The day parent asks his kids, have you done your studies? After that, when the kid says yes, if they ask, then the follow-up question is, have you practiced your game? That is the time I will retire from this industry, when that kind of environment is set in the country. So I think that is the only one piece of hurdle we need to cross as an industry.
Kiran sir and Akshay sir, do you have any other views apart from this one, Anurag sir, which highlighted?
No, I absolutely second what Anurag said. That is something, in fact, when we and Anurag, all the chats that we have, that's the common ground we know. The fact that when, parents accept this as a fact, and the exact same words that Anurag said, it is good if done in moderation. And this practice over the years has also seen it change, even at like gaming cafes, for example, where 10, 12 years ago, it was when we were going to gaming cafes, it was us going there and hoping, parents don't find out about this. But I've seen over the years where parents bring their kids down to the gaming cafes and say, hey, he wants to play for 2 hours. So and he wants to play XYZ game, and they let him play there, and they're just waiting there for the kid to have a good time. We've also seen parents, do things like birthday parties at gaming cafes, where the trend is now is like, hey, we bring their friends down, they have a good time, they have a good gaming session, then you have your cake cutting and food and all of that. So I think that is something, like Anurag said, it is happening, but it needs to happen with the mass audiences out there. When a large part of society accepts this as mainstream, like you said, is something that a kid can do, but in a moderated way, I think that is when this industry is truly going to blow up.
Kiran, just adding to that, remember when we had a meet and greet at LXG Bangalore?
Yes.
There was one kid whose mother came along with us for that, and she was like, "My kid is playing so much games. Can you at least guide him how much to play and do stuff like that?" So Kiran said that is happening, but it's happening in pockets. I want it to happen in the mass market.
I think one more thing just to add there, the idea is also, when Anurag said it's happening in pockets, he's definitely looking at it from more hardcore games, right? But if you look at more softcore games that have transitioned to esports, it's just where the learning curve is smaller. People have understood it and accepted it, right? Like conventionally, Ludo is not an esports title, but there is chess. Chess has moved in because chess is understood. You have cricket. A lot of cricket is coming in. So I think where the one is obviously education in terms of how much gaming is good in moderation. Two is also what kind of games. Obviously, when you don't understand what's going on the screen, for someone who is at a certain age, you have very little relatability with it. The moment you start relating to it, you understand it, right? Like it's happened with conventional sports in India, right? Cricket was religion, or is still, I'm say, for most of India. But so has, now football has picked up recently very big. Kabaddi has become so big. Kabaddi has become one of the biggest. Badminton has picked up immensely big, right? Tennis didn't have that many people. There are so many Indians now who are in tennis and so it'll happen. It'll get there. But like Anurag and Kiran already summarized, it's just taking time. It should just have some impetus, some momentum behind it.
I'll just add an anecdote to what Sir and Kiran were saying. So I come from a very small town and I'm working from there currently in the suburbs of Bengal. It's very hard to make people understand what I do for a living. Like, क्या करता है? Gaming company में क्या है? मतलब game खेलता है. So that's what I get asked a lot. So my parents know I work in a gaming company. Even they're not sure what I exactly do. But they know आज चलो कुछ तो कर रहा है. So I have grown up listening to the phrases जिंदगी भर game खेलेगा क्या? पढ़ाई कर ले. That's what. Now that I am at least doing something while playing games, and because I played so much of games, my cousin came that day with my nephew. My nephew is like what, 3-4 years old. And is complaining that कुछ भी अभी पढ़ाई का books देता हूँ कुछ नहीं पढ़ता पूरे दिन game खेलता है. And my mom, to my surprise, told him नहीं नहीं game खेलने देना अच्छा है. And that was a big surprise. So I see it's not that they understand, they only understand, okay, whatever he's doing is serious, it's not just for leisure. There's he's doing something which is his profession, it came out of gaming. So things are changing. So again, this is not I'm saying everywhere it will change, but people are seeing what potential this industry holds.
Next time someone asks you, you say, "नहीं नहीं, अब मैं ITC join कर रहा हूँ. अब I'll smoke for a living. Okay, I'm going to join
Yes.
TRC, so I'll drink for a living. Is it booking? I'll fly for a living."
Because that's honestly how it is in my town. And like, अरे तू इधर नहीं रहता, तू क्या करता है? अरे मैं ये गेमिंग कंपनी हूँ. मतलब गेम खेलता है. That's pretty much all they know. Gaming company मतलब गेम खेलना है.
बजाज में काम करता हूँ तो स्कूटर चलाता हूँ क्या?
No,
हाँ,
Akshay,
pretty much that.
Akshay, that reminds me of my start of my career back in '99. This was the question asked to all of my guys. These were youngsters at that time who are become big shots in industry now. I'm very proud of these guys. But वो बोलते थे ना कि बॉस तुम करते क्या हो, हम गेमिंग कंपनी में हो, तुम गेम खेलते हो वो तो ठीक है, but तुम्हें पैसे किस चीज के लिए मिलते हैं? So I had to go, Poonam, I had to go to a couple of this employees' house before I hired them to convince their parents to let them work with me. That is the era I'm coming from. I know I got a haircut yesterday, so you can't see those white hairs, but that is the era I'm coming from, that I had to go to employees' houses to convince their parents to let these kids work for me.
Like Penta Collegiate League and Penta Amateur League, these are part of Penta's IP, and they are basically targeting the amateur players like me and some students from the colleges, who can take up esports or gaming as their career option. Like, what was your vision, to introduce such kind of grassroots level esports in India?
So, Poonam, I'll let Kiran answer that. I will first want to tell you how Penta was conceived, because that is the reason behind it. Go ahead, Kiran.
So, yes. So, long story short, me and Anurag met early 2020 virtually again, where I had the lucky opportunity of working with Anurag for a couple of brands that he was consulting at that time, Paytm First Games and ESPL, to name them. And we would essentially, I think, finish work by 12, 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. onwards, we would just sit and have chats. One thing that we were immediately in consensus was the fact that we wanted to address the part of the ecosystem that currently did not have support, and we were 100% in agreement that it was at the grassroots. Like Anurag already mentioned earlier, our industry today is very top heavy. You will see a lot of pro tournaments. There's a lot of opportunities for them day in and day out. But for someone who is starting off their journey, there is very little incentive for someone to continuously grind at, because there is no systematic honing of talent, right? There is no structure which is today you start here, tomorrow you can reach here, and day after this is where you can go. So the problem there becomes, as an athlete, aspiring athlete, you are just brute forcing your way day in and day out, just hoping that you will get lucky. And that approach is something that over a large period of time will discourage a lot of potential national level athletes who could have possibly hit that stage from ever taking it up. And that was something we wanted to address right off the get-go at Penta Esports. And that is one of the primary things that we address with our leagues. With the Penta Amateur League, of course, we say any salaried athlete is not allowed to participate, because what happens again is with a lot of these tournaments, if I have to broadly classify them, there is one, your invitationals, and where you just invite the top teams and they're playing it. Then there is your open tournaments where anyone is allowed to register and participate, where your top teams are also there. But when the broadcast stage happens, it's just the same 4 top teams that you would usually see in your invitationals that are playing that as well. So it becomes very hard for an individual or a team to get recognized for the potential that they hold. And that was something that we wanted to bring out with the Penta Amateur League, where we said no salaried athletes, that takes out pretty much all the pro players out there. And now it is an even playing field for the amateur players to get not just the spotlight and get rewarded for the efforts that they are putting in, but a sense of what is to come if they continue their journey, and a affirmation that they are in the right direction. And that is something that we provide at Penta itself, is that addressing the journey of an athlete, where we want to promote them to the next level, the best ones, take them, give them the bigger opportunities versus the biggest teams in India at the biggest stages, which eventually is now a path that a aspiring athlete can see and where he can get to. And that's very much the similar pattern we're taking with the Collegiate League as well, where this season we're keeping it online because of course, with COVID still being a little prevalent in the country. But what we intend to do with Collegiate is purely take it offline. From season 2 onwards, make it like a traditional sports ecosystem for these colleges, where colleges go up against colleges and you have the colleges rooting for each other, right? That's again where talent is born and nurtured, and that we want to bring that holistic system in at the grassroots, which enables these gamers to continue and pursue their journeys. And hopefully, one day, which all of us, since we got into esports, have been eagerly looking at, is us winning a major event at the global stage. I think that's what will break that barrier. Precisely what I would say the 83 World Cup win did for cricket in India.
I'm sure those days are pretty near, like at least within 5 years, we will see such change in the industry. I wanted to know, I feel like since I keep on posting news on esports, I feel like there are more invitational tournaments compared to free to all tournaments, whereas it should be the other way around, and so that we could know how many more people are taking esports as a career option. So what is your thought about it? Like, is it same or is it something different? Like, it's just popping my head.
I know Kiran and Akshay would have a value to add to this answer, but I'm very clear here. Listen, these are two different segments. There are, unfortunately, and that's the reality, not just for esports, but for any other sport. If you don't have superstars, you will not get watching. If you don't get watching, you'll not get the revenue. So I understand that, but that is why we have taken the onus on us to grow grassroots level esports. So I would welcome more companies participating in that, but there is understandable why we see so many invitational or top tier tournaments happening in the country, because everyone wants to run it as a business, and that is the reason we do both. We do invitationals along with the grassroots events, but any money that we save from our invitationals, we pump it into the grassroots, because we are very clear we are here to for long run, and we wanna grow the ecosystem and not just be part of the ecosystem, Poonam. Number two, putting in cricket analogy, our vision of the company is to be the Ranji Cup for Indian team. So that is the vision why we have so much focus on grassroots per se. And you've seen we have launched one league, second league. You have just we have one more league coming up, but that's gonna be culmination of these two leagues into a bigger tournament. But we, since we are focused at grassroots, that is why you see so much impetus from us on grassroots. I like Kiran and Akshay to add to this point.
Yes, yes.
I think Anurag's pretty much summarized it as well as he could. Like, it's at the end of the day eyeballs, right? It's the superstars are in your top teams that are invited in, and the choice there would be: do you want to run a 5-day tournament where the superstars play on the last 2 days, or do you want to run an invitational where the superstars play all 5 days? Right? The numbers are gonna come in the latter, and it's understandable, like Anurag said, why tournament operators are doing it, because that is where you will be able to hit your KPIs, your watch numbers, and etc. Otherwise, it's very hard to do that at the open tournament, because as soon as your top followed teams are not playing, the viewing just drops in a landslide, right? We're talking like even much lesser than even 1/10 of what it would be. So yes, and just to add to what Anurag said, that's precisely what we're doing at Penta as well. We're doing that fine balance of doing that as well, and at the same time creating opportunities and for the grassroots players. And very soon you will see us bridge that gap and show a connect of how the two are going to come together.
So for me, college esports, amateur esports it's a very dear project for me, because back in the day there weren't opportunities for sports players. Esports players didn't have the money, they didn't have support, they didn't have the peripherals, they didn't even get tickets to travel to competitions, right? Buy a laser pointed mouse and then end up playing tournaments with a ballpoint mouse, and everything you practiced, everything you did on that mouse, the ballpoint mouse rendered it useless, kind of thing, right? For me, college esports is this is something me and Anurag discussed maybe 4 or 5 years ago when we were both at Reliance Jio. कि यार college esports तो करना है, बाकी वो सब करते रहेंगे, लेकिन college esports करना है, right? I think the opportunity here is, like Anurag and Kiran already said, we know the trade-off, right? Superstars versus non-superstars. But like there was Sachin Tendulkar and then there was Virat Kohli, and then I don't follow cricket, so I don't know who the next one is going to be. But that is pretty much what it is going to be for games in India, right? You have to have a stream of superstars coming in. I know a lot of teams have boot camps for open trials and everything. But like Kiran very specifically said, a lot of people get discouraged. I don't think we got discouraged. I think age just caught up with us and made us and rendered us slow. But there are people I know, or there were players that I knew who could have been phenomenal back in the day. Right, they were phenomenal, but they did not have, it was a luxury to play at a 50 rupees an hour computer. I'm talking almost 20 years ago, Poonam. 50 rupees an hour computer when you're gaming for 6 to 8 hours or 10 hours, it's 500 rupees a day, right? That was a luxury back then. And these guys were phenomenal. They just didn't have the money. There were no boot camps. There were no organized esports teams or houses. There was nothing, right? And you were spending 16 hours playing. So that right guidance, right? That boss, you're on the right track. Did not give up my graduation. I finished my MBA. I'm glad I did all of that. That was maybe just better sense prevailing. But there are people who didn't. There are people who just chased it blindly, and it was not their fault. It was their passion. I completely, agree to that. I think the idea here with college esports will always remain, or amateur esports will always remain, that we need to nurture and guide these individuals. That boss, you have potential, you channel your potential. And with college esports, that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're saying that you're good, you keep studying, we'll take care of your tuition. Because with college esports, we are very clear that it's not a prize pool, it is a scholarship. You perform well and you're rewarded for your performance of academics, of OFF academics, right? So that is something that I think that is very close to my heart. And I think college esports is going to be, Penta Collegiate League is just going to grow year on year. Something that I am definitely going to put my blood and sweat in. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
And Poonam, from our end, we are looking at people who have the same kind of vision, who want to grow esports and are not looking at reaping the results they want. That's why I'm so happy that Loco, Leverage Aju, and Goki are part of this event and supporting this event for us, because they are of the same vision that we need to grow esports in India. So really happy that partners like Loco are part of this journey for with us.
I'm sure like we will reach somewhere where we need to be.
I like that later statement, not the first one.
You're always somewhere.
Yes.
Always
Yes.
somewhere.
Yes.
The journey that counts, the destination. Once you
So
reach
we are very
the
clear. Yeah,
destination,
it's a
you
journey for us.
once you reach the destination, you relax. And we're not ready to relax right now.
I see esports as sport and nothing less than cricket. Cricket has been watched by everyone, from kids to Gen Z to our mom and dad to our grandfather as well. So what we need to do to reach all those people who talk about cricket but yet to talk about esports.
I think, Poonam, in my books, as Kiran just mentioned some time back, we need that 1983 moment. That is the first and the foremost thing. We need to come out of that small closet. Even the viewership we have, I still consider underground event, underground kind of thing. It still not become mainstream. The day it will become mainstream when I could watch esports along with my father on the big screen. That is there. But for that, you need a 83 kind of a thing to happen when you talk about cricket. I think secondly, for that to happen, I think the point which I made earlier, acceptability of esports in that non-audience needs to happen. I think these are the 2 points, according to me. I would let Kiran, Akshay, or Krishanu add more to it.
He's got my part entirely covered. That's the two things that this is something people have asked me over the last 7-8 years. Is when is esports going to become big? That's the one answer I said. Let us win the World Cup in one of these titles. We'll be there. Everyone will suddenly know of the kind of potential that India brings in, and to reach that sooner rather than later, what Anurag said, that needs to happen. As soon as acceptability increases, the chances of churning out potential athletes that can win also is going to increase, and that's going to increase our chances and expedite how fast we can get there, right? And these essentially are, I think, the only two things. I think even a lot of years back, Akshay said, infrastructure would have been a thing. It no longer is. We have amazing infrastructure required for athletes to reach that pinnacle. Just that break that we need, where we churn enough talent out there, put the best players, give them that opportunity, that stage where they can win us something huge.
I like a lot of relatability in life. Okay, so I relate everything as much as possible. Tea is a foreign product in India. Cricket is a foreign game in India. Right? All of these games, this has just become a household thing. There is no household in India that does not have at least one tea drinking member. Right? You'll have somebody or the other who drinks tea. Whether they drink with or without milk is a separate issue. And then, like you said, everybody watches cricket. Everybody exponentially watches cricket when India is playing Pakistan, right?
Right.
Yeah. And that's when these things, right? And a lot of these people have started celebrating. Businesses have been built around this, right? You see IPL, you see Zomato and Swiggy going crazy, right? There is deals and everything. So I think esports is, yes, of course, it's not the size of IPL and it's not tea right now. But it has become that. When we played games in the past, right? In a college batch of, let's say, 500 people, there were maybe 5 people who played. Now, in a college batch of 500 people, there are at least 200 people who've played a game. And by game, I mean not a chess game or a Ludo game. I mean, at some point, they've played maybe a Candy Crush or a Clash Royale or something like that, right? Which is the door knock at an opportunity at a bigger this thing, right? Back then, esports did not have, there was nothing called a career in gaming, right? A career in gaming was design, a career in gaming was tech. That was it. There was no product, there was no marketing, there was nothing that all of this design and this thing was it. But now a career in esports is also a career in gaming. And over the last 10, 12, 15 years, gaming has, again, not made like exponential leaps and bounds, but substantial leaps and bounds. Yes. There have been some big games come out, and, kudos to the Raji guys, brilliant game from India. So there are games that have come out that are doing. There are games from India that are working on crypto games, right? And stuff like that. So we are on the cusp. And like Anurag and Kiran rightly mentioned, right? Esports is going to be built up right from people who are playing it, to people who are running it, to people who are watching it. And all three of these things are growing. There are more players who are coming in to play. There are more things that are happening in esports environments like talent companies. There is managers, there are doctors coming in, like physio, and you have your psychiatrists coming in at teams and everything to, for mental health and all of that. And then you have viewers who are churning in, right? Who started out playing maybe like a mini militia, but moved on to watching Free Fire and stuff like that. And so that transition is happening. It'll take time, but it is happening for sure. There is a lot more many people. Like I see my friends' ka kids, when they run around, they're running around playing these games, right? And I was like, the penetration itself, they don't have their own phones. They're running around. One is playing on their dad's phone, one is playing on the mom's phone, but they're playing between themselves. And they're playing these games. And it's okay for them because right now, why is it okay? Because I played games with his father. I used to play. His father used to be like, "Arey, pure din khel raha hai, aaja main bhi teरे साथ खेल लेता हूं." That kind of thing. So now he knows. And he knows that, I've made a career in gaming. So he's like, okay, yaar, kuch nahi to mere bacche gamer ban jayenge. And there are people like me whose hair is now, I mean, Anurag to full, he's gone white, but abhi mere bhi safed hone lage hain. So there are people like me who have passed on, and again, this is in pockets, but it's passed on. And then there are those who have accepted ki theek hai, gaming is not bad. Now my entire extended family from my mother's side and my father's side know what I do. Right? Like Krishanu said, no, ki game khelta hai kya? That was, I don't think anybody asked me that, but if anybody would have, I said, nahi, agar ITC mein hota, to kya cigarette peeta hai? That, it doesn't make sense. So the idea is now they all accept, they understand, ki how big gaming is, and they're all encouraging that ki theek hai, it's a good recreation. So that taboo is moving away. But obviously, there will always be those who want to cause a little bit of something. So we will deal with that. There's esports right now, and if it's done in moderation, if it's done with the right games, if it's done in interesting, it just helps you build character. It makes good for hand-eye coordination and stuff like that. So it's definitely growing. People are understanding it. Yeah, just has to be controlled. That's all.
We'll move on to the next question, which is, are you, like Newgen Gaming is looking for more collaborations? What I feel, you can't build a nation all by alone. So are you looking for more collaborations, like tie-ups?
Yeah, of course. We will never shy away from a great idea or a great opportunity. We are working with brands where we are co-conceiving properties. And this is not in favor of the brand or Penta. By co-conceiving properties, I mean is when you have a shared vision and how you want to translate that vision to your audience. These properties are along the lines of both entertainment and engagement, right? Where they could just focus primarily on engagement factors, where they want us to do something by experiencing the brand or experiencing the values that the brand delivers to the market. Or it could be just on the likes of entertainment that they want to associate on an entertainment level. And this again is from content to tournaments, right? Yes, we are looking at people who are obviously, business part of the element. So definitely, but we are also looking at people who can come in and have, somebody who has a zeal and has motivation to contribute to the Indian ecosystem, right? That is where, it is on the upward trajectory. We all understood that, but that is where we want to enrich the trajectory as well, right? You want to associate with people who will not just give you monetary or non-monetary support, but also technical expertise and maybe industry expertise, growth expertise. You want to also associate with people who can give you grassroots expertise. So we are doing partnerships in that level as well. We're talking to a lot of people across the board for that as well. But yes, all ideas are welcome. Boon boon se samudra bharta hai, that kind of thing, right? So yeah.
Yes.
So Poonam, we are very clear. anybody who's on the same vision is more than welcome. Commercial, non-commercial doesn't matter to us. Is the vision should be matching. That is the whole objective I've given to my whole team, that find partners who are on the same vision, who wants to grow esports in India and especially grassroots level esports. So that is the clear understanding.
Like since Penta Esports is bootstrapped, are you looking for any fundraise like in future or right now?
Yes, we will be announcing that very soon.
Okay. Any plans for Penta Esports to explore the metaverse or for say Pentaverse? Any plans?
Yeah, metaverse is not a new term. That is my biggest concern. Like I remember in 98, there was a game called Second Life, which was nothing but the same concept. Right now, we take word meta, we use the word metaverse because of a certain company who's changed his name to Meta. So that is the reason, but it's not something new. Typically for esports, yes, we will be part of a metaverse, but we don't see creating our own metaverse.
Okay.
Like very clearly, our vision is very clear. We might have a stadium inside a metaverse, which will be our stadium. But will it be called Pentaverse? No. We are focused.
I just named it like,
No, that's okay.
at the moment.
Oh, that's a great name. Krishanu, keep a note of that. But anyways, so we are looking at becoming part of metaverse, but we will not have our own metaverse. That's my whole point, because this concept is not new. Secondly, esports or gaming are only a part of a metaverse. It's not never the metaverse. Metaverse, the fundamental is the community. Rest technology, etc. It exists, will mature, things will happen, but the core is the community. So we will be part of that community. We will not own the community.
Yeah, I also think that jargons don't merit value, right? Jargons is everybody is playing around metaverse, Web 3.0. You sit across them with coffee and you sit and talk to them and be like, हाँ इतना मैंने पढ़ा है, इतना मैंने देखा है, that kind of thing, right? So it's a very, very new, okay, maybe the concept is not new, like Anurag said, but technology that is coming in, it's still being built around it. There's a lot of things to explore and understand. But I definitely think that metaverse is right now in its a very jargony phase, right? It's something that people are using. And our focus right now is to first get Penta in the real verse. So metaverse, like Anurag said, I think that's a great piece of insight right there for you, that we will probably have something someday in it. But like I completely agree with him that the community is built. That is what the actual metaverse is. And we are trying to build that community here at the grassroots level. That is something that I think is our verse right now.
Okay. Are you planning to introduce any or like, link up with some brand ambassadors for Penta?
Our players are our brand ambassadors, Poonam. Our viewers are our brand ambassadors. So that is the way we think, because that is the value we derive from those people. So those are our brand ambassadors. There's not a personality. Like, though I am the founder today on the call, you see all four of us on the call, because these are the guys who are running, who are planning the next steps. It's not just me. So similarly, as a brand ambassador, for us, the community, the players, the viewers are our brand ambassadors.
And also
And
the Kiran.
I say it very proudly.
Yes, for sure. Kiran sir, my money is on Kiran sir. Honestly.
No,
Exactly.
not at all. It's our objective was right from the get-go very clear. We want to provide the best possible player and viewer experience across whatever we do, and they out there will do the, like Anurag said, they're going to spread the word of mouth. They're going to let people know how awesome it was if once they've been part of the family, and I don't see them ever going out again.
Like me, many are there, who wants to link with esports and do something in the industry and get a recognition or make their own foundation in the industry. So any tips, all four of you are there, you are part of esports, but in different way you are linked up with esports. Definitely tournament is there, and there are other things as well. Like if you share tips or motivational quotes, so that they don't lose their hope, or they would like to stick around and explore the industry and be part of it and be one of the like, future leaders? Like, if you could share something on that.
So I have just one message for these guys. Keep working on it. Trust me, like any other business, esports looks like a very fancy word right now from outside, but trust me, it's like any other business. Just work on making it through it. Don't worry whether you get 4 failures or 5 failures, even no failure. If you're destined to make it, trust me, you will make it. So keep on it. That's my advice.
I just want to add on to what Anurag said. I think at the beginning, learning, it's a constant process, right? But it's very key at the beginning to dive straight into it. And something similar to what a lot of journeys that a lot of people who have had in esports, they've been admins at one point of time or the other. That is where you learn what esports is day in and day out. It's a hard grind, but at that position, you get to basically get an understanding of how not just esports works from a viewer standpoint, but from a management standpoint, to be right in the thick of things, to understand how things work. So I say, do not look at what kind of work you're doing today, but the one thing to know is, like any other industry, just keep learning. And as long as you're learning and you're growing day in and day out, you're a better version of yourself the next day, and you're even better the next day. I say you are in a good position to make it.
I think Anurag and Kiran have summarized it. Just follow doing. This is the closest I've come to doing something that I've dreamed about. So I'm very happy doing what I'm doing, and I'm very happy translating my vision to my teammates and everybody in the team around me also. So I think we're in a good space, and we will continue doing good work.
Yes.
So just to add one or two lines to what everybody has said, and I concur to whatever they have said, this is a very good time where you actually have opportunities, so many of them, to get into this industry. When I was wanted to play games all day, or never thought that I'd get into an industry which is esports, which was not even there. Wow, that makes me feel old. But now it's there. So anybody who wants to try it, this is the right time. So go for it. Earlier it was not there. Now it's there. If you think you want to be in this industry, this is a very good time.
That's how we will grow. Like, it is new, it is growing, and that's how we can also grow along with the industry. So yes, it's the right time. So that's all from Penta Esports. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video, and do subscribe to our channel. Until we meet again, stay safe and keep gaming.